My name is Robin Pointer, and I'm 33 years old. I write software for a living, clean, predictable logic that compiles or it doesn't. My apartment used to feel like that too. Compile clean. One bedroom, a long hallway that swallows footsteps, a black leather couch, a dark wood coffee table with a coffee ring that looks like the moon in eclipse. It was mine, until it wasn't. It started with color, brown turning to blonde. One Wednesday night, I came home late from a deployment freeze and stood over my coffee table, waiting for my brain to sink. It had always been dark walnut, right? Now the grain shone honey bright like a new haircut. I stared until my eyes went stingy. I even pinched the underside to feel for the sloppy staple I'd never gotten around to pulling. It was there, same table, different stain. Like my life had gotten highlights without asking me. I called Ethan, my boyfriend. "Do you remember my coffee table being dark?" I asked. He laughed, gentle, like he was afraid I'd spook. "Rob, we eat takeout on it every Friday. Of course it's dark." "Not anymore," I said. "It's lighter. It's stupid. Forget it." "It's not stupid," he said. "You're detail-oriented. That's why your code ships without fires." "Tell that to the toaster I once bricked with a firmware update," he chuckled. "I'll swing by tomorrow and look." I told myself I mixed it up with my old place in Fremont, the one with the IKEA starter kit and the landlord who taped notes to the door like curses. I told myself anything that would let the coffee table be a trick of fatigue. The chairs came next. I owned 4 black metal ones with gray cushions, utilitarian and uninteresting, perfect to neglect. One Monday, the gray had bloomed into floral, white slats and tiny peonies smiling at me like I'd invited spring inside. I actually said, out loud to no one, "Absolutely not." I called my mom on our usual Tuesday check-in. "My chair's changed," I said, trying to make it a joke. She laughed too quickly. "Sweetheart, you probably swapped them when you were rearranging last month." "I didn't rearrange last month." "Oh." She shifted gears. I could hear her smile sharpen through the line. "Maybe you're thinking of your old chairs. People forget these things. You work so hard. Are you sleeping?" The way she asked made my cheeks heat, like I was the child who misplaced her shoes again. "I'm sleeping enough." "Well, maybe take a multivitamin. You know how memory runs in the family." The next night, I took a shower and reached for my navy towels. They were gone. In their place, soft pink with decorative borders, folded with that department store hospital crispness. I pressed my thumb into the terry and watched the indent linger like proof. I went on a hunt through drawers and closets. My navy set had vanished. The pink ones were labeled with a little paper tag tucked under the last fold, like something ready for staging. I stared at the cursive brand name, and beneath it, faintly penciled initials, J.H. I don't know a J.H., not in my house. Every practical thing I tried returned 0 results. No charges on my cards, no email confirmations, no package slips, no phantom orders. My lease had a clause about landlord entry with notice. I hadn't gotten any. I toured my own rooms as if I were a guest, touching edges, scanning shelves. My books stayed. My succulents didn't march themselves to a better window. It was just the furniture, the bones, reposed with someone else's posture. By the time Ethan came over Friday, my living room was a magazine spread for a person I had never met. My black leather couch had been replaced by a beige sectional generous enough to host 3 couples and a complicated charcuterie board. The entertainment stand turned rustic, distressed wood and metal accents like a Pinterest barn door. He stood with his hands on his hips. "Okay," he said carefully. How did you do all this?" "I didn't." I tried to smile and it broke. "Ethan, I didn't." He looked at me, at the couch, at the coffee table that didn't match my memory of it. "Are you messing with me? Why would I prank myself with floral chairs?" He scrubbed his face. "Then there's someone coming in here. My parents have a spare key." The words felt heavy and obvious, like a variable I'd declared and never used. "For emergencies." "Is this an emergency?" he asked softly. "It is if I'm buying pink towels in my sleep." I called my dad first. He sounded baffled, performed in a register I knew too well. "Pumpkin, what are you talking about? Maybe maintenance came in to replace something? You should thank them if they did. That sectional looks nicer than your old couch." I don't care if it looks nicer, I said. It's not mine. Don't be ungrateful, he said before he caught himself. I mean, don't get worked up. With Mom, the conversation was a carousel. Concern, condescension, cooing. Robin, sweetheart, why are you being dramatic? If someone upgraded your things, take the compliment. You always choose such dark pieces. Space needs light. Dark, like me. The subtext hummed. After we hung up, I walked the perimeter of the apartment, one palm sliding along the wall as if the paint might confess a secret. My foot snagged on something under the couch, no longer my couch. I crouched and fished it out, a square of fabric stapled to a larger rectangle, 6 shades of beige like a desert at noon. On the back, a sticker. Swatch, linen, Jenna collection. My sister's name is Jenna. She and I hadn't been close since any time that mattered. She'd married young, recently divorced, and last Christmas she'd said she was staying with a friend for now. My stomach went tight. The pink towels, the floral chairs, a couch made for long talks and shared throw blankets. A home softened. A home for Jenna. I felt a thought trying to hatch. I didn't let it. Not yet. That night, I turned my logic loose and it bit down on a plan. If I were wrong, I'd be embarrassed. If I were right, I'd be safe. I ordered 3 small cameras, the kind disguised as ordinary objects. A charger for the living room outlet, a digital clock for the bedroom, a little speaker for the kitchen. I felt ridiculous pairing Bluetooth to my own paranoia. I mounted them with fingers that shook so hard I dropped the clock and cracked the false glass. I mounted it anyway. For the first 2 days, nothing. I got motion pings when I walked past, a pixelated mirror of my own pacing. I felt stupid. I considered uninstalling them and uninstalling the part of my brain that couldn't let this go. Wednesday, 2:06 p.m. In the middle of reviewing a pull request, my phone buzzed against my desk with a notification that felt colder than any bug report. Motion detected. Living room. I clicked. A grainy rectangle bloomed into my home, and through my front door, my parents. They didn't creep. They entered, easy and practiced. Mom carried a canvas tote and a glossy catalog. Dad had a tape measure already pulled, the metal tongue glinting as it snapped out and back. Mom pointed, tapped, directed the room the way she used to direct me in dressing rooms, tilting her head, deciding. She set a stack of fabric samples on the coffee table, my coffee table, and fanned them like cards. I watched my dad bend to the new console and note the width in a neat notebook. Mom took pictures of my bookshelves, my mantle, my life. At one point, she sat on the sectional and laid different swatches across the cushions, smiling to herself like a problem had just solved itself. The charger cam had no audio, but I didn't need it to hear the unspoken. This goes here, that goes there. Robin goes, where? They stayed 45 minutes. My heart sprinted every second. When they left, they didn't even look back. I stared at the frozen frame of my empty living room. The catalog lay open like a flag planted. The swatches waited, obedient. My fingers found the call icon before my mind caught up. I didn't know what I would say. I only knew that I would not be told to take a multivitamin again. The screen reflected my face, too pale, eyes too wide. I watched myself breathe, counted 4 in, 6 out, like the therapist I swear I'll call someday told me to try. Then the motion alert pinged again. Kitchen, 2:54 p.m. They were back. And this time, Mom was holding a key I recognized because I'd handed it to her the day I signed my lease. The day she said, just in case, honey. Just in case. As if control were a storm we all had to prepare for. I tapped record. I tapped save. I tapped every button that meant I could prove to myself I wasn't imagining the room rearranging around me. When the door clicked shut behind them, I made a decision that felt like pulling a thread and hearing the whole sweater sigh. I was going to change the locks. And I was going to ask Jenna a question I wasn't sure either of us wanted the answer to. The footage looped in my head all night. Every frame, every angle, every casual motion of my parents rearranging my life. By morning, my exhaustion had turned into resolve. I downloaded the recordings, put them on my laptop, and drove straight to their house without calling first. Their driveway still smelled like the lavender detergent Mom used to mop the garage. I knocked twice, then walked in, because apparently that's what we do in this family. Mom looked up from his kitchen island. Robin, what a nice surprise. You didn't say you were coming. Because I didn't plan to, I said, setting my laptop on the counter. But I need you both to see something. Dad came in from the backyard, still wearing his gardening gloves. You look tired, kiddo. You working too much again? Just watch. I opened the laptop, hit play. The image of them walking into my apartment flickered across the screen. My mom's smile faltered, but only for a second. Dad leaned closer, squinting. Where'd you get this? He asked. Hidden cameras. I set them up last week. Silence stretched. Then Mom's eyebrows knit together, not in guilt, but irritation. You filmed us? Without telling us? Robin, that's an invasion of privacy. I actually laughed. An invasion of privacy? You broke into my home. Mom scoffed, waving it off. Oh, stop being dramatic. We weren't breaking in. We have a key. That's the point, I snapped. You used that key to change my furniture, my towels, my entire apartment. Why? Dad removed his gloves, laid them flat on the counter. We were helping you. Helping me? Yes, Mom said, stepping closer. Sweetheart, you live alone. Your place is so stark, so masculine. Jenna's moving back soon after that awful divorce, and she needs somewhere comfortable to stay for a while. We just wanted to make your place welcoming for her. For a moment, I couldn't even process the words. Wait, what? Mom folded her arms like she was delivering good news. Jenna's moving in with you next month, just for a bit, until she gets on her feet. She's... what? No one is moving in with me. Mom's smile didn't move, but her tone cooled. She's your sister, Robin. Family helps family. I have one bedroom. She can take yours. You can use the sofa. It's very comfortable. The absurdity hit so hard I almost laughed again. You're serious. Dad sighed, stepping in like a peacekeeper. Robin, think about how hard Jenna's had it. Rent is impossible right now. You can afford to help. You're not even using that second closet. Because it's a pantry, I said. You replace my furniture without permission. That's not helping. It's controlling. Mom's voice trembled, and the tears came on cue. All we've ever done is care for you. You sound ungrateful. Ungrateful. The word she'd used since I was 9, when I didn't want the birthday dress she picked. Mom, this isn't about gratitude. It's about boundaries. Boundaries, she repeated, like it was a foreign word. What? Now I need an appointment to visit my own daughter? Yes, I said simply. You do. The silence after that was electric. Dad finally exhaled. You're overreacting. You're making a big deal out of furniture. We've spent a lot of money making your place nice. Then return it, I said, and stay out. Mom's lower lip quivered, though the tears felt as practiced as her morning routine. I just wanted you and Jenna to have a space that felt like home again. You were always so different, cold, distant. Maybe if your surroundings were warmer. Stop, I said sharply. Don't make this about my personality. Dad's face hardened. You should be ashamed, talking to your mother like that. Maybe she should be ashamed of treating me like I'm still 12. That was the last thing I said before I shut the laptop, turned, and walked out. Mom called after me. Something about being selfish, about how Jenna deserved better family support. I didn't look back. That night, I changed the locks. I didn't even wait until the weekend. The locksmith glanced at the old deadbolt. Lost your keys? Something like that, I said. He drilled out the cylinder, replaced it with a fresh set that glinted like new armor. When I turned the key, it clicked with finality that made my shoulders drop an inch. 15 missed calls by morning, 11 from Mom, 4 from Dad. I blocked both. 2 days later, Dad showed up outside my building. He was sitting in his car with the engine running, windows down. He didn't buzz the intercom, just waited until I came home. Robin, he said, climbing out, this is ridiculous. Your mother's been crying for days. She cries every time she doesn't get her way, I said evenly. He frowned. You think you're better than us now, with your tech job and your apartment. No, I said. I think I deserve privacy. He shoved his hands in his pockets. You'll regret this attitude when we're gone. I looked him straight in the eye. Then maybe you should try being people I'll miss. He flinched, not much, but enough, and left without another word. For a week, things were quiet. I started to breathe again, to believe maybe I'd scared them off. Then came the email. Delivery confirmation. Furniture pickup scheduled. No sender name, just a logistics company I didn't recognize. I called the number. The woman on the line said cheerfully, Oh, you must be Robin Pointer. We're collecting the Darkwood set for donation. Replacement pieces have already been delivered. My blood ran cold. Who scheduled that? It says here, Linda Pointer. Mom. I nearly broke my phone hanging up. I raced home early from work. The hallway smelled like dust and pine cleaner. A pair of movers were just stepping out of the elevator, my coffee table in their hands. Stop, I yelled. That's mine. They froze. Ma'am, we were told. I'm telling you different. I made them put everything back, piece by piece, while my neighbors peeked from their doors. By the time they left, I was shaking so hard I had to sit on the floor just to breathe. My parents had tried to erase the last traces of me from my own space. That night, I called Jenna for the first time in months. She answered on the second ring. Robin, wow, hey, this is unexpected. I need to ask you something, I said. Did Mom or Dad tell you you're moving in with me? A pause. Then, what? No. Why would I? They redecorated my apartment for you. They said you were staying here. Her silence stretched long enough for me to hear her exhale through her nose. Oh my God. Robin, I swear I didn't know. I just signed a lease last week. I'm not moving in with anyone. The relief hit me harder than anger. I figured, I said softly. I'm so sorry, she added. They've been over-involved lately. I thought it was just me. Over-involved. I almost laughed. It's not just you. That night, as I locked the new deadbolt and sat back down on my reclaimed couch, something strange happened. For the first time in weeks, my apartment felt still. But the stillness didn't feel safe yet. It felt like the pause between storms. Because if there's one thing I knew about my mother, it's that she doesn't lose quietly. It's funny how silence can be louder than shouting. For the first 2 weeks after I changed the locks, the quiet felt almost peaceful. No unexpected knocks, no furniture deliveries, just me, my coffee table, and a kind of fragile stillness that I didn't dare trust. Then the storm started again. 17 missed calls in one afternoon. A string of voicemails that started with guilt and ended with fury. Robin, please call us back. You're worrying your father. Robin, this is childish. You've broken your mother's heart. We'll come by tomorrow. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. I didn't answer any of them. The next morning, I was on a Zoom call for work when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I ignored it. Then another buzz. Then another. I muted the meeting and finally checked the notifications. Building management, urgent locksmith on site for Unit 4B. My blood ran cold. I sprinted downstairs. And there he was, Dad, standing in the hallway beside a man in coveralls holding a drill. Sir, I barked. What are you doing? The locksmith turned, startled. Mr. Pointer said he needed his locks changed. I live here, I snapped, holding up my ID. That man doesn't. The locksmith blinked. I'll need to see a lease, ma'am. I pulled out my phone and opened the PDF I'd saved for exactly this reason. My name, my address, current through next year. Dad's jaw clenched. Robin, this is ridiculous. Your mother can't sleep. You're tearing this family apart over a door lock. No, I said quietly. You're tearing it apart by not respecting the door. The locksmith hesitated, then shrugged. Sorry, sir. Without proof of residence, I can't do anything. He packed up and left. Dad stood in the hallway for a long time, fists in his pockets, staring at me. You really want to live like a stranger? I want to live like an adult, I said, and shut the door. A week later, my old furniture reappeared, dumped in the hallway like garbage, literally. My couch, table, and chairs piled near the elevator, blocking the fire exit. There was a note taped to the couch. Since you're so attached to your dark old junk, here you go. Mom. My neighbor, Mrs. Chen from 4B, poked her head out, shaking it. Trouble with movers? I forced a smile. Family, I said. The kind that forgets the definition of no. I spent the next weekend restoring what they'd tried to erase. Every screw, every dent, every imperfect piece of furniture felt like a victory. My apartment smelled like wood polish and defiance. But then came the wedding. Cousin Natalie's wedding was the first family event I'd attended since the redecoration incident. I told myself I'd just show up, smile, leave early. I wasn't ready for the whisper campaign that greeted me. Alyssa, oh wait, Robin, Aunt Joyce said, patting my arm. Your mother tells me you've been under so much stress. We're all praying for you. Stress, I repeated, blinking. She said you've been having episodes, forgetting things, acting out. But don't worry, sweetheart, we all go through phases. Episodes, acting out. I excused myself before I said something that would end up as family gossip fodder. At dinner, Mom waved at me from across the table with the bright, brittle smile of someone performing for an audience. "Robin, honey, come sit near us." I didn't. Instead, I sat beside Jenna, and for the first time in years, it didn't feel awkward. She leaned closer. "You okay?" "Depends," I whispered. "Did Mom tell the entire family I'm losing my mind?" Jenna winced. "She's been saying you're confused lately. I told her to drop it, but you know her." The words poured out before I could stop them. I told Jenna everything. The cameras, the footage, the attempted lock change, the hallway furniture dump. She listened, jaw tightening, hands clasped so tight her knuckles went white. "They're out of control," she muttered. "They've been out of control," I said. "You just didn't see it before." Jenna sighed. "You're right," then softer. "And I think they've done the same thing to me, just quieter." That night after the reception, I got a text from her. "I'm sorry for not believing you before. I think I understand now." I didn't know what she meant then, not really. But it was the first time I'd felt like maybe, just maybe, I wasn't alone in this. Over the next month, I started to hear stories. Aunt Patricia admitted that Mom once redecorated her living room as a surprise while she was on vacation. My uncle joked that it was just Linda being Linda. But the punchlines weren't funny anymore. The pattern was there, control disguised as kindness, help that nobody asked for. Every phone call from my parents felt rehearsed, filled with strategic guilt. "We were only trying to help. You make it sound so sinister. You used to trust us." I started journaling, writing down every incident with timestamps like I was debugging a human system. But the real crash log came 3 months later in the form of a text from Jenna. "Hey, can you talk? Something weird is happening at my place." She sent photos, new towels she hadn't bought, different throw pillows, kitchen utensils swapped for matching sets. I stared at the images for a long time before replying. "Do you have spare keys?" "Yeah, Mom and Dad have one." "Why?" That was when everything clicked into place. The pattern wasn't just about me. It was generational, habitual, orchestrated. And Mom wasn't finished yet. The next day, I sat at my kitchen table, the real one, dark wood solid under my hands, and opened a blank email addressed to Jenna. Subject: the truth about the furniture. I attached the footage, the still frames, the timestamps, everything. My fingers hovered over send for a long moment. Then I clicked it. If I was going to take the next step, I needed an ally, and I just might have found one. When the phone rang that Sunday night, I already knew it was Jenna. Her voice came through thin, tight, and exhausted, like she'd run a marathon through disbelief. "Robin," she said quietly. I caught her. Those 3 words hit me harder than any argument we'd ever had. She told me what happened. She'd come home early from work, head pounding from a migraine, and found Mom standing in her apartment, holding a stack of picture frames, one hand rearranging, the other dusting, like she belonged there. "Mom jumped when she saw me," Jenna said. "Then she started babbling about surprising me and helping me settle in." I pressed my fingers to my temple. "What did you do?" I asked for the key. She acted like I'd slapped her. Then Jenna's voice cracked just enough to let the truth through. "Robin, it wasn't just today. She's been doing this for years. I just didn't see it." We spent 3 hours on the phone that night, unraveling memories like tangled cords. The missing jacket Jenna could never find after college? Mom donated it because she thought it didn't suit her image. My missing sweatshirt from university? "Too old to wear, dear," Mom had said at the time. The gradual upgrades to our apartments? The mysteriously matching decor we'd laughed about years ago? It wasn't coincidence, it was curation. Mom's obsession wasn't new. It had just been subtle. A spoon replaced here, a rug swapped there, and somehow we'd both adapted to her vision without noticing. "She told me she's been managing the family's environment since we moved out," Jenna said. "Like she's our personal interior designer / puppeteer." "That's not management," I said. "That's control." Jenna gave a bitter laugh. "Do you remember how she'd rearrange our bedrooms while we were at school? We'd come home and she'd say, 'Surprise, I improved it.' And if we got upset, she'd cry." "I remember," I said quietly. "I remember you crying too." The silence that followed was the kind that binds people together more than words ever could. By midnight, we'd decided to stop treating this like 2 isolated incidents and start seeing it for what it was, a pattern. And patterns could be broken. We agreed to confront our parents together, not in anger, but in clarity. We'd make a list: rules, boundaries, expectations. No keys, No entry without consent. No surprise improvements. When I told Ethan about it later that week, he nodded slowly. "You're doing the right thing," he said, "but you know your mom's not going to take it well." "I don't expect her to," I said, "but this isn't about her feelings anymore. It's about reality." The next morning, Mom texted Jenna, "I hope you're not upset, darling. You've been through so much, and I just wanted your space to feel more positive. You'll thank me later, like always." Then, 5 minutes later, she texted me, "I don't know what stories Jenna's been telling you, but I'm disappointed you're encouraging her paranoia." I didn't reply. Instead, I forwarded both messages to Jenna. She called me laughing, but it wasn't amusement. It was disbelief. "She's trying to gaslight both of us at the same time." "Classic," I said. "Divide and conquer." "Not this time." We set a date for this talk. Saturday afternoon, their house, the same living room where I'd first confronted them about the hidden camera footage months ago. That week, I couldn't sleep. Every night I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying every helpful thing Mom had ever done that never felt like help. Every "I know what's best." Every time Dad stayed silent because keeping peace mattered more than keeping truth. Ethan tried to lighten the mood one night over dinner. "You know," he said, "if she really wants to redesign spaces, she could have made a career out of it." "She did," I said. "She just forgot to ask if her clients consented." Friday night, Jenna sent me a picture. Her front door, a brand new silver deadbolt gleaming under the hallway light. "Changed the locks today. Feels good." I smiled for the first time all week. Then she added, "Dad called me. Said you've poisoned me against them. I told him I finally see them clearly." He hung up. Saturday arrived, like a storm cloud you can't avoid. Jenna and I met at a coffee shop first, notebooks in hand. We didn't need caffeine. We needed courage. We compared notes like two lawyers before trial. Rules, limits, consequences. If they refused to accept, we'd step back completely. For once, we were united, not as the golden child and the independent one, but as sisters who had finally stopped competing for the same impossible approval. Before we left, Jenna looked at me and said, "If they start crying, we don't comfort them." I nodded. "And if they start yelling?" "We don't defend ourselves. We state facts." It was the most mature plan we'd ever made. That evening, I stood outside our parents' front door, heart hammering. The lavender detergent smell still lingered, as if time hadn't moved since the day I first confronted them. But this time, I wasn't alone. Jenna's hand brushed mine briefly before she rang the bell. Inside, we heard Mom's cheerful, too-high voice. "Girls! What a lovely surprise!" Not a surprise, I thought grimly. A reckoning. Dad appeared behind her, quieter, unreadable. "Come in," he said. "Let's talk like adults." We stepped inside. The same living room. The same air, thick with old expectations. Except this time, I'd brought witnesses. Mom had set the stage like it was a family reunion instead of an intervention. The coffee table gleamed, a plate of cookies at its center. Family photos lined the mantel, Jenna's wedding portrait, my college graduation, Dad holding a fish he caught 15 years ago. All props in the story she wanted to tell. We're a normal, loving family. But this time I wasn't playing my old role. "Sit," Mom said, gesturing to the couch. The same beige sectional she'd once tried to install in my apartment. "We can sort all this out calmly." "We're calm," I said. "But this isn't something to sort out. It's something to stop." Dad glanced at me, then at Jenna. "Girls, you've both been tense lately. Your mother's only ever tried to help. Maybe there's been a misunderstanding." "There isn't," Jenna said evenly. Her voice didn't shake. It was the same tone I'd used when I told Mom she couldn't come into my apartment again. She opened her notebook and began reading, line by line. "Changing locks without permission, replacing furniture without consent, entering homes uninvited, removing personal belongings." Mom's smile flickered. "Jenna, darling, that makes it sound illegal," Jenna finished. "Because it is." The silence stretched long enough to hear the clock ticking on the wall. Then came the tears. "Oh, for heaven's sake," Mom burst out, grabbing a tissue she'd clearly placed in advance. "I did it out of love. You've both been so busy, so distracted, and I just wanted to make your lives easier, to give you comfort." I leaned forward. "Love doesn't ignore consent." Mom pressed the tissue to her nose. "I sacrificed everything for you girls, and this is how you repay me? By accusing me like some criminal?" Dad's brow furrowed. He looked at her, really looked at her, for the first time. "Linda," he said slowly, "did you really take that painting from Jenna's apartment last year?" Her mouth opened, then closed. It didn't match anything else she owned. But it was hers, he said. Something shifted in the room. The air grew heavier, but also clearer. Jenna met my eyes, then spoke again. This isn't about decor, Mom. It's about control. You've been doing this for years. Changing our spaces, our things, even our choices, and calling it love. Mom's tears wavered. I just wanted everything to be perfect. For who? I asked quietly. For us? Or for you? That question hung there like smoke. Dad rubbed his face with both hands. Linda, do you remember how furious you got when your own mother redecorated our kitchen while we were on vacation? That was different, Mom said immediately. How? He asked. Because now you're the one holding the paintbrush? Her lips trembled, and for a moment, the practiced composure cracked. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. Jenna's voice softened, just slightly. Intentions don't erase damage. What followed wasn't easy. We spent hours peeling back layers of denial, guilt, and generational habits. For every justification Mom offered, Jenna and I countered with facts, dates, examples, screenshots, footage. Eventually, Mom stopped arguing. She sat there, staring at the table, the tissue damp and forgotten in her hand. Dad finally spoke. So what do you want from us? Jenna and I had rehearsed this part. I took a breath. Boundaries. No spare keys. No entering our homes without permission. No taking or changing our things. No making plans about our lives behind our backs. And if we say no, Jenna added, you accept it. You don't guilt us, cry, or twist it into betrayal. Mom looked up, eyes red. That sounds cold. It's the opposite, I said. It's how we can actually have a real relationship, one that's based on respect, not control. Dad nodded slowly. That's fair. Then he turned to Mom. Can you agree to that? Mom hesitated. The silence stretched long enough to make my stomach twist. Then, finally, she whispered, yes. It wasn't loud or dramatic. It was just real. 2 months later, life felt different. Peaceful, but not empty. Jenna and I texted almost every day now. We'd never been this close before. Turns out, when you're not being pitted against each other for approval, you can actually like your sibling. We had Sunday lunches, shared memes, even went thrifting for furniture. Our choices, not Mom's. Mom and Dad still came around, but carefully. Mom would text first, asking, can I come by to drop something off? And wait for an answer. Sometimes I said yes, sometimes I said no. And the world didn't end either way. Dad became the quiet enforcer of the new order. If Mom started slipping, commenting on my couch color, suggesting a different arrangement, he'd smile and say, Linda, they didn't ask for suggestions. It became his catchphrase. One evening, Jenna and I were sitting on my reclaimed black couch, wine glasses in hand, laughing about how insane everything had been. You realize, she said, if Mom hadn't overplayed her hand, we'd still be living in her curated little museum. Yeah, I said, smiling. She got too confident. Changed too much too fast. She taught us about boundaries by breaking every one of them, Jenna said dryly. We both laughed until it hurt. Then she grew quiet. Do you think she'll ever really change? I looked around my apartment, the dark wood coffee table, the mismatched books, the plants leaning toward the sun. My space, my rules. I don't know, I said, but I know we have. Sometimes I catch Mom studying my furniture when she visits. Her fingers twitch, like she wants to adjust a frame or swap a pillow, but she doesn't. She stops herself, takes a breath, and smiles instead. That's enough for now. My home finally feels like mine again. Not because of the things inside it, but because every single one is a choice I made. And maybe that's what growing up really is. Changing the locks, keeping the love, and finally choosing your own version of home.